I want to know there's money to be made in that category. And then I want to know that I can beat them at their own game. You know, YouTube money is great, but there's people on Twitter in the affiliate space that are doing 100 million a year, right? It's such a wide range. People that are running those affiliate models, they're making $1,500 for every sign up, and they're only paying $350. So I'm not in that space. I mean, I'd love to see you talk to one of them because they make all of us look broke. You know, it's just like a video game in real life, and it's just getting a high score, but that high score is how much money can I make? On that deal in particular, it was $150,000 down that I put on my Amex. So it's kind of crazy to like, hey, can I put this charge on my Amex? Yeah, you can. And then to see, like, obviously everyone in this space knows the credit card points game. You travel for free for the rest of your life, essentially.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment Podcast. Today we have Jake. He does Amazon KDP, Faceless YouTube, a marketing agency, and a CPA firm. He was on maybe about a year ago, so we're going to probably talk a lot about the Faceless YouTube stuff. So what's going on, man? Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah, so tell us about this YouTube stuff. I actually was talking to John about having you on months ago, and I just forgot about it. But I was really interested on how that was going because I know it's like a big business model right now.
Yeah, it's I've been doing YouTube since late 2023. And just kind of winging it and seeing what stuck. And then suddenly I kind of found what was working, scaled that up, bought channels in 2024, and kind of have built my own system of managing teams, and finding niches and just managing YouTube in my own way. And it has crushed every other business model I've ever done, right? It's, we're talking, I've done drop shipping. I've done $1 million in a year with 4% margins, right? With YouTube, I'm small, but I'm hitting $50,000 to $100,000 months with 80% margin. And it is a total game changer. Like I said, it's night and day versus anything else that I've done in the side hustle, path.
So explain it a little bit. It's like, what exactly is this when you're talking about these like faceless YouTube channels?
Yeah, so it's going to be anything that's not a personal brand, like side hustle experiment, personal brand. It is you guys yourself. You are the channel. If you guys were to leave, this channel would probably not do very well. There's going to be other personal brands. There's like some really big sports channels like Out of Bounds, Blitz. Those channels are faceless, but they're personal branded in a way where, you're probably using editors, you're using voiceover. You're not really yourself involved in the brand of the channel. That could be anything from like movie recap niches to celeb gossip. Like when Diddy was popping off last year, I knew people making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in the faceless space. And so it's essentially where you are not yourself tied to the channel. Like people don't know the channels that I necessarily run, aside from like close friends. So yeah, it's different versus like, Graham Stephan, right? People know who he is. That's his own channel. And so that would be like a personal brand face channel versus the faceless side, which is, you don't really know who's running that.
And you're making your money off ad revenue, I'm guessing.
Yeah, ad revenue. We've done like some ebook sales, some like courses and stuff like that. But 90% is AdSense.
Yeah. So what's the process here? Let's take it through. Like a complete. Pick a niche. Like what's the whole process, like A to Z, of how you can start one of these things?
Yeah. So it's going to be a mixed bag, right? I'm a CPA. I have had other income coming in. So for me, it was finding a niche, either already having team members that I would say are A-star quality. And, on your team, you're going to have editors, thumbnail designers, script writers. You might yourself do one of those tasks your own, but it's hard to be really good at everything. So, what my day consists of is, basically just scouring YouTube in the niches that I'm in, you have to have pattern recognition to see kind of what is performing well and can you beat it, right? Can my thumbnail be better? Can my script be better? Can the hook be better in the first 30 seconds of the video? How can I engage the audience more and have a higher view duration? All of those things you're going to be thinking about while you're, looking at what you're going to do next. Finding those niches, either writing the script yourself, sending them to a script writer, and then just kind of being a quality control manager. I have pretty large teams. Now I'm doing anything from 10 to 20 plus videos a day. Those might be 15 minutes to an hour long. And so it's managing that team. And obviously when you're doing it at that scale, it's really difficult to do it all yourself. So, it's impossible to do it yourself. So it's team management, and, you're going to lose team members. You need to know how to hire new ones, and train them in a way where they can continue without you, like micromanaging them along the way.
What do you got, John?
Wow, so it's almost similar. It almost seems like private label for Amazon. You're kind of going through, seeing what's selling, like maybe what you could do better. Kind of, I guess if we were to try to get started, like what advice would you have?
Yeah, so, pick a niche. It's got to be something that is doing well, right? Like I see right now, it's across the board. There's AI stories. There's celeb news, movie recaps. There's, tariffs, finance. There's a million paths. And essentially you want to see what other Faceless channels are doing and which ones are doing it well. And can you beat them? That's my main thing is if I'm going to go into a category, I want to know there's money to be made in that category. And then I want to know that I can beat them at their own game. If I can do that, then I'm going to enter that niche and give it a go. To start it, you're going to obviously need some capital. Videos can range from like $50 to $3,000, right? It's a wide range. There's a Faceless channel called Fern, Fern. They are like peak YouTube. They're peak Faceless YouTube, and their videos are insane, and they cost a lot of money. And if you try to compete with them, you're going to lose. Where there's other channels that are doing well, that you might be able to start trying to enter that arena, for $1,000 all in to get 5 to 10 videos, and with YouTube versus Amazon, this is one thing I wanted to point out. On Amazon KDP, right? You're writing a book for $300, $500. You're getting in there, but you really have to push your own book. You really need to do advertising. You have to do a lot. With YouTube, it's totally different because YouTube is constantly pushing your video. It might take longer for it to take off, but you are presenting something to YouTube and then they're taking it from there. With Amazon, you're giving it to Amazon, and then if you stop, advertising it on Meta, on Amazon itself, it will fall and it'll basically be never seen again. So it's two totally different structures. Like the KDP side is passive income. I might do a book every few months, and then I only check to see how much money I'm making, right? With YouTube, I'm putting hours a day into it. It's nonstop, but I can immediately enter a niche in a week. And, depending upon what channel do I have a pre-monetized channel? Am I repackaging my channel and changing the name and the content behind it? I might make a couple $1,000s in a few days. With Amazon KDP, can't do it, right? It's a slow build, and then you're constantly having to kind of entice Amazon to push you. YouTube will just take it from there, and suddenly you're have been viewed millions of times in a week, and all you did was bring something to the table.
Well, I know that the money differs, the CPM differs for all these niches, but is there an average of what you're getting across the board of like you get 100,000 views, what are you getting for that?
So yeah, the RPMs for people that might not be aware, you basically take your views, 1 million views, you divide it by 1,000, and then you multiply that by the RPM to kind of get a rough gauge. I have channels where I'm around $4 per 1,000 views, and channels where I'm at $17 per 1,000 views. Lately it was a good weekend. I posted some stuff on Twitter, on a few channels. I currently own 14 channels, and some of them popped off. It was I had my first 7,000 net day on YouTube, and normally it's going to range from like 2 to 5, but to hit that mark was pretty sweet.
That's insane. That's
So
a
you're
lot of
saying
money.
$2,000 to $5,000 a day?
Yeah, yeah. I've bought channels. I've started channels from scratch. I've kind of done both, and and you know, Q4 was really really good. There was 100,000 plus months, and like I said, I'm small in the space of. I have people that I know that have 20 plus channels, and they do 300,000 a month. I know people doing 1 million a month or 10 million a year on YouTube. And it's a small world in that space, but people are crushing way more than me. But yeah, I mean, I have friends that they're trying to sell their channels now, and they're doing 400, 500,000 a year from it, and you'd never know.
Wow. Are you the voice behind any of these, or are you all AI voice?
No. I have some real voice. I have some AI voice. It's a mix. It depends on your audience. Like your audience would know text to speech.
Yeah.
And it's a mixed bag. TikTok has kind of made it where it's acceptable. People expect an AI voice sometimes. An older audience might not ever know it's an AI voice. So you kind of have to know your audience on that channel and know what you can kind of get away with, because obviously real voices are much more expensive.
Yeah, I watch a ton of these channels, like the NBA stuff. I see a lot of NBA ones, and those guys, I'm always like, I wonder how much money they're making. It's probably a lot of money now that we're talking about this.
Yeah, some of them don't make a lot from AdSense, but they'll get those DraftKings
Yeah.
underdog sponsorships, and they could be making 6 figures a month from those sponsorships alone. And the AdSense is just you know they don't even care about it, because there's some sports that are way more open with you kind of using their content, and then there's
Oh,
some that they'll manually claim your video, not strike you, but they're going to get all the AdSense revenue. But if you're making a lot of money from DraftKings or FanDuel or Underdog, who cares?
do you have any ad sponsorships like that on your channel?
No, I've had a few. I'm 90%, 95% AdSense, 5% affiliate, dollars. So I would love sponsors. I would love to work with agencies and get that, but I feel like it's harder, right? People aren't drawn to your channel. They're drawn to your content, and not really your content, your specific video. So for sponsors to know which videos are going to do well, it's a lot harder. Where like for you guys, if you guys were to do a sponsor on some software, this sponsor would probably feel pretty comfortable with that. Where on some of my stuff, it's a mixed bag on what videos will do well and which ones won't. So it's a lot harder.
Yeah. You got any other YouTube questions, John?
Yeah, I would say, what do you think the learning curve is on something like this? Like, is it easy to get started for most people, or is this more of a harder thing to get into?
I feel like for your audience that has had experience with Amazon, that has had experience with, uh, influencer programs, has had experience with some of that stuff, it'd be a lot easier. If you're just coming off the street, it's gonna be like a foreign language to you. Um, for me, it was a lot easier to get it going, but I'd had a lot of experience with other things. So depends who you are.
Yeah. I'm curious. I think you have some good insight on this. You've done so many different business models, and specifically online. What do you think? Can you break down what do you think the best business models are to start? And this doesn't have to be specifically like, obviously you said the YouTube was really good, but this could be
Yeah.
anything. What are the criteria for someone looking to get into something new? Because we've talked to so many people, and I'm like, I wish I had a really concrete answer on how this stuff really works. And I think you'd have a good insight on it.
Yeah, to me, it's all going to be dictated by how much capital you have, what your risk tolerance is. You know, YouTube money is great. Affiliate, there's people on Twitter in the affiliate space that are doing 100 million a year, right? It's like it's such a wide range. And the affiliate side, it's like, hey, do you want to run Facebook ads, Meta ads on how to get free, even though you're not allowed to say free, no cost healthcare with ACA, or do you want to do GLP-1s? People that are running those affiliate models, they're making $1,500 for every sign up, and they're only paying 350. So I'm not in that space. I mean, I'd love to see you talk to one of them because they make all of us look broke. But the KDP side, it's one of those models that $300-$500 to get a book out there, run some ads, try to get some traffic on it. YouTube side, you can kind of start for in a more affordable way as well. But it just depends on your skill set. Can you really understand ads? You need to use media buyers. Do you understand pattern recognition? How easy is it for you to be creative? Like all those different things are going to dictate what you're going to have success with. But I personally have the most fun with YouTube right now. That's the thing I enjoy the most. But like I said, there's people on Twitter that you see what they're doing, and you're like, it's a shiny object syndrome. But it's also really good just to stick to what works for you. I have my own ideas. I've done bookkeeping and CPA stuff for a lot of people in OA, and talk about just a bloodbath. It's what's nice is that YouTube likes you and kind of wants to work with you, where on Amazon it's like they don't care at all. They'll just shut you down, and you could be making them a lot of money, and it's nothing to them, so they just kind of move on to the next. So it's a tough world out there, especially in 2025, with the economy and everything going on.
Yeah, you think that? What do you rank Amazon up there in terms of like OA, RA, that type of stuff compared to like these other models? Because I've noticed that you've kind of just gotten the whole digital space, which I'm always a big advocate of. After I've learned how profitable that is compared to physical products, I just always try to tell people that. But I almost feel like a hypocrite because I always did physical products. I haven't done too much digital, but maybe you're more qualified to speak on it.
Yeah, I mean, I still have clients doing well with OA and everything.
Before we get into that, if you could just take 1 second, like this video, we would greatly appreciate it. It really helps get this out to more people, and that will allow us to get better guests for you guys. And if you are feeling extra generous, leave a comment what you like about it or tag us on social. Thanks so much. Now let's get back to the episode.
RAOA, but would tell you that it's way harder and that they wish they were doing something different. They're going to be honest and say, I'm making money from it, but man, I'm jealous of people in other spaces. I definitely would give YouTube / KDP, like an A, B, depending upon who you are, capital, and just how strong you're going to be at team management, pattern recognition, etc. OA and RA, I know there's a lot of people that are making good money at it, but you got to be amazing to make that work. So for the normal person, I'd give it like an F. But if you're, like I've seen people on your videos before, they're making it work, and they'd make anything work. So it's
Yeah.
give or take.
That's funny. I give it an F. Well, I mean, yeah, man. It's just my thing. My thing about this is your returns on some of this stuff is just, you can see what businesses have better returns, and it's like all of them are hard. I get that point that like everything's hard for different, all that stuff, like that's what people always come at me, and I'm just like, I get that. It's just with OA RA, what's your ceiling compared to like this other stuff, or like something that's passive, KDP. Now you're saying I don't even work, I just go on there to check my money. Okay, well, you ain't gonna get that shit with OA or RA. So like,
No, and the
that's
other
what
thing is risk. It's
yeah,
risk. People will have to put 100 grand on a credit card to try to make 50 grand on top, and that's really, really good. To make 150 on 100, you're doing
you're
but you had to
killing
put
it. Yeah.
100,000 at risk. On YouTube, you might put $3,000 into a video and cross your fingers, but you can really just lose $3,000. OA, RA, you can go bankrupt, in one bad month. So, that's why I rated it so poorly. People can do very, very well, but you really have to be a high end performer and operator to get there. It's doable, and I see it done every month from clients that I have. But they're built different. I'm not built like that. I couldn't make that work. And when I look at that risk tolerance that I have, it's high, but it's not. I'm going to put $100,000 and then hope Amazon doesn't suspend me, or lose all my inventory for whatever reason and pay me back almost nothing. So that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But
Yeah,
you
John.
might not know the answer to this, but what you were saying before, like all the OA and RA sellers, like, oh man, I wish I was doing another model besides this. Like, why do you think they don't? Because like,
Um,
right? Because you decided to do a different business model. Me and Drew have decided to do different business models. So like, what do you think the issue is?
I think
Fear.
for them, they have bills. They got stuff. They can't, like, if it's working for them and they're paying off their mortgage or they got kids, there's a lot of things there where and it is some fear as well. And it's a big thing where you are learning something new on the fly. Like Kyle, you all know Kyle. He's killing it with Amazon Influencer and UGC. He was able to really make other things work where other people, it's fear. It's, I got bills to pay. I got a mortgage. I got kids. I got a wife. And I got to keep doing what I currently am doing to take care of all my obligations. To switch it up on a dime, you got to have another W-2 paying job, or, own your own business. And it was a side hustle anyways, and now you're just changing side hustles. But if it's your thing, it's tough to give up on something that's working.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental barriers I think you got to break through, because like that's what I did. It's not like I wasn't making money; I was profitable. It's just I don't know, had a different perspective. I'm like, I think I've made enough money where I can leave the table, like take my chips off the table and figure this out. And then even to this day, man, it's been like almost 2 years since I've quit, and I bet I'm only down 60 grand probably from when I quit. And I thought I was going to blow every bit of my money in 2 years. Well, honestly, I thought I was going to make something work in 6 months, but shit, that didn't happen. So, but I'm really not that down bad as I thought I would, which is like, that's what I try to tell people too. It's like, it's not going to be the end of the world. Like, as long as you're not frivolously spending, you'll be fine most of the time. But yeah, people got a lot more expenses than me. So there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's different. I like the side hustle space. I like that people are willing to share their numbers. I like that people are willing to talk about what they're doing and what's working, what isn't. And it's so rare, like I know that a lot of times, you'll get to like flex Twitter, like look at me in my Lambo that I'm renting, or look at my watch that it's my dad's uncle's friend and I'm wearing it anyways, that type of thing. And I kind of have found a lot of like-minded people on X, Twitter, that are willing to share their numbers and willing to kind of just say what's working, what isn't. And that like ability to share knowledge and share insights is so valuable, because I'm sure that a lot of people are going to hear this and get into YouTube. And I'm sure that, like, I kind of did the same thing. I saw that things were working for other people, wanted to give it a go. And then once it works for you, you kind of find your own path and find your own way to success. But, you also kind of talk to people in that area and see what's working for them and change things up. It's kind of nice to find that network and community.
Yeah. What you got, John?
Have you seen a lot of drop off in the OA RA space with your kind of clients, or have noticed any trends?
Yeah. At one point, we were doing 80 to 90 monthly bookkeeping clients. We probably have like 11 now. Obviously we have more than that, but the drop off has been significant. People that are still doing it are doing well, but like I said, it's a different ball game with risk and everything along with that. It's been a big drop off
You had 80 or 90 OA clients?
as bookkeeping clients. Yeah.
Dude, you know what that makes me think? Because, I was probably the first person you met in this space. We had you on the pod. I always told everybody about you. I'm like, I got 80 to 90 people to buy. Like, a lot of those probably signed up via me. And I'm like, why can't I get people to buy shit? I should probably reconsider the things I'm doing right now. Because I keep
I
believing
mean,
that's awesome.
we were affordable. I mean, we're doing $299, $300 a month
Yeah.
for bookkeeping monthly. I mean, we were kind of in a way where I built out teams that really understood what they were doing, and so we were like, the more affordable option. And in a space where you need to know your numbers, it was a good choice. But the drop off was real. It was significant, and I don't blame them.
That's a lot of money to lose too. What is that like? If you lose 70 people times 300, that's like 20 grand a month. People are usually staying for 2 to 3 years. That's like a shit ton
Yeah.
of money for the long term.
And it was a lot of people referring other people, other friends. We had a lot of people from like the New York area. Um, like I said, it was nice to, it's nice to refill that income in other ways. But, you know, you look back at how much you're making in 2020 and 2021, and it's just a roller coaster. And, you can't make tons of financial decisions based off of what your last 3 months were. That's a big issue. That's a big way to get in trouble. So, you know, life's just about being smart and making calculated decisions.
I want to touch on something. I noticed this with you ever since I've met you. You kind of have this really, really good ability to focus in and just like do work for long periods of time. And talk a little bit about maybe like your productivity. You don't seem like a productivity hack type of guy, but how do you push to do this work? Like, I'm going to do this new business model. I don't even give a shit if I fail. Like, do these thoughts even cross your mind? Or like, how do you keep just cranking on to the next thing? Success. Okay, well, I'm kind of just bored of that. Let's do the next thing. Do you think this is something innate within you, or do you have these like mental models you kind of go through?
I think it's like crazy ADHD with no Adderall. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I just really like to work. I'll wake up at, I know people in the YouTube space, and we're talking on WhatsApp, and I'm talking with them at 1:30, 2 in the morning my time. And then, I'm talking to them at 5:30 in the morning my time. They're like, "Did you go to bed?" I'm like, "Yeah." What are you talking about? So, it's just like you constantly feel, I'm having a kid in August, and it's like this constant need to just keep improving and growing and making more money. And, once you lose a bookkeeping client, I need to replace that income. Not in a way where you're obsessive about it, but in a way where it just becomes like something that needs to be done. I don't know. Like I said, I like to try new things. And everything that I'm doing, right, it's not super capital intensive. I have bought, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 YouTube channels. I mean, that was capital intensive. But, you know, you structure things in ways, and you're very particular in what you buy at that scale to limit your downside and risk. And then, like I said, it's just something else that needs to be done. And luckily I like what I do.
Yeah, you think that's a big part of it is just enjoying stuff. We always hear people say that on here of like, it doesn't even matter what you do. You just got to do something you like, and eventually you'll end up being successful with it.
Yeah, and you also have to have a mindset like, do I particularly love doing taxes? No. But do I like saving people money and like coming up with ways to have them pay less? Yeah. Like that's the type of mindset that you need to have to make something that maybe isn't that enjoyable. Like, during tax season, we'll do 110-hour weeks at some times, during deadlines. And you got to, have certain mindsets that make things easier to do. For YouTube, like I said, it's really nice to like, I feel like you're improving a model. You're finding a niche that maybe is full of people that maybe aren't American, and they're trying to target Americans, and so there's a disconnect there, and you think you can do it better. Things like that that, I find fun to try to find new things and implement new ways to make more money. And it's like I said, me and Drew have talked about it a lot. It's just like a video game in real life, and it's just getting a high score. But that high score is how much money can I make, from it.
Yeah. Do you have a goal with the YouTube stuff at the moment? Do you want to be 10 mil a year, something like that?
My goal with the YouTube side is to just build a super large YouTube portfolio, sell it to PE. That's my goal. And it's interesting because, like I said, YouTube channels have been bought and sold. Smosh, these large
I used to watch when I
entities,
was a kid all the time. Yeah.
yeah, like if Mr. Beast I think he's raised money at like billions, a billion plus minimum, right? So it happens, but like I said, those are personal branded channels. I know that there's some PE that's getting into like focus on cash flow, and I am cash flow heavy. Um, and so I'm kind of curious to see. I haven't met anybody that's done that before. I don't know if it's possible, but that's the goal that I have, is to build this up in a way where it's a couple million a year, sell it to private equity, and maybe consult or do something along those lines where you're able to still make money, but maybe you took a lot of chips off the table and now you are doing work for the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, the good part of that is that, like you said, you haven't heard anybody doing that or whatever. That's probably a good sign, because there will be a day when that happens and the multiples will probably be way more than they're actually worth it. Like that's kind of what happens. I feel like with a lot of businesses is these big PE places or companies will get in and they'll overpay for companies because it's just the new hot thing and every other company's buying like a little bubble. And if that hasn't happened yet, then you never know. You get a 10, 20x evaluation for something that's like definitely not worth that, but more than
That'd be crazy.
yeah, I can definitely
Yeah,
see that happening, especially with the faceless stuff. It's just not a lot of you're not
it's
tied to
newer.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, and like I said, I am not huge in YouTube. Like, I don't want to talk and act like I'm some big, like, I am so small in the grand scheme of things. There's people on Twitter that kill my numbers. Um, and so it's just knowing that, like, there's always ways to get better, and improve what you're doing. And there's some huge names on Twitter that are, kind of inspirational to try to get to that level. But that's what makes YouTube so interesting, is that even though I know there's people that crush me, I still am hitting numbers, that most people would just love to hit in general. And so when you're in a vertical like that, where the middle end is great and the high end is like life changing, it's nice to focus and get in there while you still can.
yeah. What you got, John?
What's holding you back from being bigger?
So there's only one of me. Like, you can only train so many people to do certain things, but if I had a twin brother that we were just similar, oh man, I know that there's people like that where they kind of have like a second them, and it'd be really, really nice. There's other ways to kind of, like, I have channel managers. Like, the structure that I have is I have 14 channels. Some of them I write my own scripts on some of those channels. Some of them I have channel managers that manage the whole thing. Some of them, I have script writers and editors, but I'm kind of coming up with the ideation of the channel of what videos are going to be about. Like, I'm kind of scattered all throughout. So you have to be good at everything, in order to kind of have success in my mind. Like, if I just hired people, I wouldn't know if it was good. If I just relied on somebody else for ideation and it wasn't doing well, I might think the niche is dead, but really they just aren't good at their job. It's being able to be well rounded, and then at a certain point, it's about scale. How fast can you scale? How many videos can you do? How many channels can you hit? There's a little bit of luck there. YouTube needs to give you impressions for you to get views. Well, are you shadow banned? Are you not getting any impressions? Is that something that's your fault? Is it just something that is kind of broken in the algorithm that is skewed against you? There's certain things like that you can't really control. But I'm actively still buying channels. If you're watching this and you got a good channel, I'm still buying channels, and it's you know, YouTube is funny where if you have a channel that's worth 20 grand, it's super easy to sell it. If you have a channel that's over 200, 300,000, it is very hard to sell that channel. Even though you would think it's a better quality, it's just, there's no way to get a loan on, or normally there's very limited ways to get a loan to buy a channel. It's not like you can go to the SBA. And so the more money you make and the more you scale it, the harder it is to sell it. And so it's like this interesting game where, like I bought channels for $1,000. I bought channels for $400,000, and the quality of those channels is night and day. But the people that tried to sell that $400,000 plus channel, you can spend months and months and months and not even have a single interested person. And so building those relationships where you can have access to buy a channel that it would be very, very difficult to start. That's an easy way to kind of scale and continue to grow. And so if I could keep buying those, I'll hit my numbers way faster than normal. But it's rare to find that.
Is there no marketplace for it?
There is. You'll have like these online brokerages like Quiet Light, Empire Flippers. They'll list them, and there's some good channels that occasionally hit them. But you need to understand YouTube very, very well to see, like, am I buying a channel that's about to die? Because that'd be pretty painful. Or am I buying a channel that is very, very stable? Am I buying a channel that I'm getting a great deal on because, I feel like I can do it better? Or, you can kind of see that trend line is going up. Things like that, you kind of have to know. I wouldn't recommend a newbie to try to go out and buy a channel because, you could find yourself in trouble with that. But for good operators, it's an easier way to scale and grow from there.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. So to get started with this, you wouldn't recommend buying a channel no matter what?
It depends. Like if you are a higher W-2 earner, and you buy a channel with a team and you structure it in a way where the owner has to be around for 2 months with ideation, team management, you're limiting your risk there. Plus, you'd probably get really great training from somebody that is good at their job. I've done that before. I overpaid for a channel because the team and the operator was so good. And I feel like I learned a lot. It was like half coaching, half purchasing, team, half buying cash flow, like a mix of that. But it depends on who you are. And if you have any questions about that, people could always reach out to me because building that network is really, really nice. But also I've helped people not buy channels that they would have really regretted. They would have lost a lot of money on. And sometimes I'll tell people that it's worth it at the price that they're going to pay. And, I've seen people scale from there.
Yeah. You mentioned the coaching thing. You've bought coaching before. You've coached before. What do you think about that whole space? And like, what are your thoughts overall on the coaching situation online?
I think it can be really beneficial. I think there's a lot of BS coaches out there, and it's about navigating like who is real and who isn't. But I've made great friends from coaching, and I've seen like KDP students, right? It's just people that you kind of end up becoming friends with that are doing like 3,000 to 5,000 a month, and so I've seen it work out very, very well. And I've also seen, people complain and want to do chargebacks on people that they feel like just stole their money. So I like the space. I was always particular about who I was working with. I want it to be someone that I feel like I can resonate with very, very well and see them have success, because the last thing you want is to ruin your reputation on, for a couple $1,000s, which is a lot of money, but reputations are obviously much more valuable than that.
Yeah, 100%. Good, John.
What does a typical YouTube channel kind of sell for?
It depends, on it depends on how long the channel's been around. If it's done super well for 2 to 3 years, then you'll start hitting that like 24 to 30 times your monthly net. It could sell for that. I bought channels that only made really good money for 6 months. Like maybe they were at 8 to 10, which is still good, but like you don't know if that's going to stick there, if that is like going to fall to 1,000. The range can vary a lot, because a lot of your money can come from one viral video that you need to have continued push on that to continue making your money. Where if you know what your floor is on a video per channel, you can kind of know what that's gonna be. But a lot of channels that I've bought are 10 months net. You'll get your money back in 10 months essentially. Now there's a lot of risk there. There's some channels where I've beaten that in 4 months. I have my money back in 4 to 5 months. There's channels where you don't hit that mark as fast, and you might not hit that mark. It's a mixed bag. And so it's, you got to kind of look at your deal flow and know what'll work for you and what isn't, and learn from experience. Because like I said, I've bought channels that are crushing it on, and then I've bought channels that, we've taken a 40% dip, and now we're trying to get back to that plus some more.
How long did it take you to make your first dollar doing that?
On YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
35 days. On a brand new channel, you got to get monetized. You got to go through the AdSense process. If you were to buy a pre-monetized channel, you can make your first dollar in a week. And then, similar to like KDP, YouTube pays you once a month. It's going to be between like the 20th to the 25th. KDP, you're going to get paid like 27th to the 30th, 29th range. So managing your cash flow, how often do you pay your team? Like those are all things that are going to come into play. But, YouTube, you can make your money back fast.
Interesting. What you got, John?
When you buy the channel, do you usually get the team as well, or is there you just get the channel?
No, I wouldn't buy anything where the team's staying with the because you'd have to retrain entirely new people in a way where it's going to continue, that niche. So all the channels that I've bought have teams, and the teams stay with the channel, and any channel that I buy, the owner has to stick around for 1 to 2 months, train me on certain things, and make sure that it's a smoother transition process. Because if you do get out of the YouTube algorithm, it's not impossible to get back, but you'd rather never leave it. So you kind of need to if you post every day, 2 times a day, 5 times a day, there's channels that post 5 times a day, that has to continue. You can't buy a channel and then suddenly now there's no videos posted in 2 weeks, right? Because you have to retrain team members, or maybe the freelancers left, because now you post that video and it's a hit or miss on did you just buy someone's previous cash flow for no reason, or are you buying something that's going to continue to give you that cash flow going forward? That's like the main crux of it.
Is there a lot of scammy situations with that stuff? Like people lying about, okay, my channel brings in this, or it's hard. Is it hard to navigate?
Yeah, it is difficult. You'll have some channels that maybe a community strike just ended and they won't let you be aware of that. Maybe they have 5 channels in the niche and they're trying to sell their worst performing one. There's some people on Twitter, I don't want to say their names, but they know who they are, and they'll sell a channel to somebody and then they'll immediately community strike them, and the channel is basically dead on arrival. You got to be careful, because there's people out there that don't really care about the reputation and will just kind of think only about how much money they're going to make and how they can screw you, and make more. So I always want to work with people that are going to leave the niche. I don't want to buy something from you and then compete on the thing I just bought from you. Things like that kind of like, you know, and really you need to only buy and work with reliable, good people, you know, that you can trust, because trust is way more important than anything else when you're putting your own money at risk. Because like I said, you might buy something for 400 and only get back 80. Like that's obviously brutal.
So when you said you bought a channel for $400,000, what does that kind of look like? Like we were just talking about, you know, you got to do your due diligence. Like, are you giving them 400K wire one shot? Or are you kind of like, after your 2 months, I give you the 400, or it's half and half, or like, how does that work? And
It's
how do you think
all,
about it? That's a lot of money.
yeah, it's all, you know, on the table, right? If they could sell it for 400 cash, they would. They wouldn't make a deal with you, you know, in that case. So I've done all cash deals. I've done profit share deals. I've done, and you know, obviously those profit share deals on larger channels, they need to know that you are capable. Like you're gonna have to show them your channels. You're gonna have to show them your AdSense deposits. You're gonna have to show them like, hey, I actually make money from this, and I actually have teams, and you know, like I feel like I can continue um, with your team in a way where you're gonna continue making money from it. On that deal in particular, it was $150,000 down that I put on my Amex. So it's kind of crazy to like,
Wow.
hey, can I put this charge on my Amex? Yeah, you can. And then to see like, obviously, everyone in the space knows the credit card points game. You travel for free for the rest of your life, essentially. But yeah, on that deal, $150,000 down on my Amex, and then the rest is a profit share, and it's been successful. We have done well with that. I've done some where it was cash. Um, it just depends on trust you have with the buyer seller, um, how capable you are, how well you can relay that. Because obviously, if I didn't have a background in that, it would have never happened.
Yeah.
I guess that's awesome too, because with the credit, like if something does go really sideways, you could probably charge back, or at least
Yeah, like if they were ever going to
fund a little
scam
bit.
me, then you know we're good to go. And I'm easy. Like I said, I have a CPA firm, I have a wealth management firm. You know that helps some people because they can see I have licenses that I can't lose. I have things in there that make me like, you know, not want to scam for a living because I make income in other ways. So I found that has helped me, you know, buy things and get that trust with people. Um, and you know, like I said, there's some dirty people out there that you want to avoid. So um, yeah, it's been the $200,000 channel um, was great. The $1,000 channel worked out amazingly. The $180,000 channel, that one, you know, when we bought it, it was Q4, Q1 hit and it dipped. And now we're just, you know, getting that back up to Q4 numbers and then obviously continuing to grow that. So I've never failed on a purchase. I have failed on starting new channels, but it's not really a failure. It's like my capital and time can be spent in other ways. Like you're going to learn something from that and then maybe get into a travel niche where you were originally in, like, you know, some a finance niche or something. You're able to kind of move around, where when you buy a channel, obviously you give it a lot of time, attention, and don't like rock the boat. You kind of stick to the same formats that work and the same thumbnail styles that work. Where on these new channels, you can kind of just like throw stuff at the wall, and you might see something that really works out better than you expected. Where on these bigger purchases, you can't really take those risks.
Do you have any experience in editing? Like, do you even know how to edit a YouTube
No,
video? Is
That's
it
crazy.
so?
none.
What's your biggest skill? Ideation, obviously. Then do you write the script, or do you have somebody write the script?
Some I write the script myself. Some, um, you know, it's ideation, it's pattern recognition. It is like, you just get a brain for it where there's certain people that everybody knows in the space, like Noah, Andrew. These are like people that are killing it, and if they get into your niche, you're screwed, right? It's like there's something about certain people that just, oh, damn, this guy entered my niche, and suddenly now I'm the third biggest channel instead of the first or second. And it's just kind of understanding the systems, building out. You might be a better operator and build out better SOPs and train teams better. Where I might post a video and there's quality control issues everywhere. My script isn't factual. I'm talking about somebody else, and I put a picture of, you might talk about Ryan Reynolds, and you post a picture of like Rob, the guy from It's Always Sunny. If you're talking about the purchase of the soccer team, but you're talking about somebody and you post the wrong image, like that's immediately people don't trust you. They don't trust your channel. The viewership drops off the channel. The video dies. So being able to, build out the team and have super high quality, know how to hook and engage your audience better. Like those are all things that come with time, but that's going to make like one channel way more, profitable and scalable than another.
Can you give any example of niches? Like, I don't know if you can expose any you're in, but like, I'm trying to just think, the general is obvious, like sports, news, whatever, but is there like, I'm sure you're going way more specific with these, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you might have something like, to be particular, you might have, like there's certain icons in sports, right? It might be wrestling. It might be WWE. It might be American football. It might be soccer. It might be basketball. And so you can do like hyper focused documentary style videos on like Hulk Hogan, right? Or even nicher than that, because everyone knows who Hulk Hogan is. But if you do something on like a smaller wrestler, or maybe you do something on like the best role player in the NBA, right? That's going to be sub niche, and that's an easier way to compete with like to go for a core audience versus like a wide general audience. AI story niches, right? You can do, I've seen AI story niches that is literally only about British Royal Guards. That's it. It's like an AI story niche for 30 minutes to an hour, particularly about British Royal Guards. And every single video is about like how they saved a girl from being stomped by a horse, right? Some weird stuff. And you zoom out and you're like, this has 700,000 views. And those AI story niches are like $13 to $17 RPM. What? This probably costs like $100 to make. So it's one of those things that, you can do like Reddit stories, but you used to just be able to do text, like text narration on a Reddit post. Well, now you need to have like AI visuals. You got to have a lot more than that. And that niche has kind of died, which is why it's easier to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, you got movie recaps that are all about romance, right? K romance drama movie recaps. You got anime movie recaps or anime recaps. So like movie recaps is such a broad niche. If you just do movie recaps, the actual channel will steal your lunch money. But if you do only K-pop drama romance, which they don't really, you're going to grow a huge audience and kind of like own that sub niche. So it's all about kind of like looking at the competition and where can you compete better than, going broad, which is going to be way tough. Going sub niche, you'll be able to kind of like, own that sub niche. And those sub niches are very, very valuable. There's a lot of money in the sub niches, a lot more than you'd expect.
Yeah, I watch a channel all the time. Made me think about this. It's called like How to Beat, and it's a scary movie at the end. But one, I don't like scary movies, so this gives me a good recap of movies, so I can just like kind of see it. And they walk through how to beat, whatever demon in whatever movie. And I always thought those were really cool. And they get so many views. I'm like, I bet they're making so much money off these things because they just crank them out every time a scary movie comes out. Boom, 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 new movies.
Yeah, and that's going to be between like a 3 to $6 RPM. So you can kind of do the math on every. I have some movie recap channels, and we'll do $3 to $5 depending upon what month it is and the audience behind it. Like sci-fi is higher, but it's harder to get into. Romance is way higher than sci-fi, and it's almost easier to get into, but you kind of have to figure out, like, are you going after like older moms? Are you going after like younger teens? That's going to give you a different RPM.
Interesting. What else you got, John?
Yeah, it's so interesting, kind of like these sub niches and just kind of thinking through that. I was actually talking to someone the other day and I was just like, it's just crazy because I go to the gym almost every day and Sports Center is on the TV. They have like Sports Center, 2 news channels, like that's it. It's super annoying. But I was like, why would anyone ever watch like ESPN now? Where like you could literally just pick the 4 teams you care about, find a Twitter, find an Instagram, find a YouTube, and just watch that shit all day long. Because like you don't really care about anything else. And now that I'm hearing you talk about this, I'm just like, oh, okay, like this is probably like kind of some of the stuff he gets into. And it's just like, yeah, these little tiny people are just like love this one, let's just call it sports team. Like they want to see like nostalgic clips when they won or like what's going on now. And it's just like, it's amazing that that kind of thing is going on, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. It's YouTube is the future. TV, like traditional television, is dying. Um, Sports Center can't compete with Brett Coleman, right? He's like this huge NFL guy. And if you do like a deep dive on a Brett Coleman video, you're going to learn way more than, like some generic Sports Center thing. It's just night and day different. And YouTube is just growing like crazy. And especially the older audiences that watch YouTube on the television, it's like growing double, triple digits, month over month. The amount of 70-year-olds that are watching YouTube on their television is, you know, way higher than it even was a few months ago. It's just growing insane.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I would be like the only person I knew that watched YouTube, and now it's like everybody. It's like, yeah, I saw this on YouTube. I saw this on YouTube. So yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like it's already a big market, but yeah, all those older people, they still have yet to get into that. Like that's still going to keep growing over time, over time.
Yeah. And, YouTube, there's so many ways to go about it. I only do like the white hat, like give YouTube quality content. They will show it to quality viewers and you make money. Now there's like people that do some black hat stuff where they find ways to like make money and niches they shouldn't. They're able to get around like things like that I haven't really messed around with because once YouTube hates you, like good luck. But there's people overseas that can use their mom's AdSense or something and rinse repeat. But there's a lot of ways to make money.
Yeah, I know there's a channel I saw. They had made a lot of money replaying Family Guy episodes that got kicked off YouTube, and that was like they were stealing their stuff and making like tons of ad revenue. I saw this breakdown on Twitter or something, and that you're literally just stealing the company's stuff.
And I know somebody who's made a lot of money in that exact way with Family Guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. I wonder. I guess like how do you reverse the? I think sometimes they flip it right, or they'll play the music slow, or that kind of thing. That's how they get around that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that know how to use AI songs to claim copyright over other things. I mean, I don't want to really get into a ton of that stuff because I don't do it and I don't want to be wrong. But like I said, lots of ways.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about before, you just got on the internet recently, the last like year or so. What was your choice for doing that? And then do you plan on, trying to grow your personal brand or whatever, or just the occasional podcast is kind of your speed?
Um, I really don't like putting myself out there that much, but I found out that my network that I really value has grown immensely. Like I said, provide value, get value in return. On X, Twitter, I've met some amazing people that, like I said, they put me to shame. And you're like, damn, I didn't even know. I'm learning so much just because we're having a conversation. And so I like, giving value. And like I said, in return, you get more than you gave. I do have a YouTube channel. I have like 10 subscribers. I've never posted on it before. I really want, like I was telling John, I'm like, I need to do videos. Like I bought a YouTube channel for 200,000, and this is what happened. Like I'm sure that would do pretty well. Um, but like I said, with the faceless side, you really have, like I know a lot of big YouTubers in Las Vegas, like huge ones, and they're going to go in and out, or they're going to go at some dinner, and people are taking pictures of them, and wanted to talk, and I kind of like nobody knowing who I am. So I kind of like that, but like I said, when you look at how much money you can make with those personal brands, it's like I could see how that's worth it. Uh, and people driving 3 Lambos or something. It's not my style, but like I said, it's like that money is there. So it's something that I plan on doing. I don't think it'll ever be big, but it's just a good way to like continue growing your network.
Yeah, I read an article one time by, I think the guy that wrote 4 Hour Work Week. I forget his name, but he talked about fame and how he was like a nobody, and then he wrote that book, and now he's like worldwide famous. And he was just like, if I could do it again, I don't think it's worth it. Like the fame is not worth what comes with it. It was a really good article. I don't know when I read it, but that soured my brain a little bit. But that's always been in the back of my head too. Of like, do you really want that type of thing? Is it worth it, all the trouble for the money? Because how much is the money going to improve your life versus the trouble is going to hurt your life? That's always something I kind of battle with.
Yeah, and then like I said, I know a lot of people in Vegas, really cool people, good guys, and they might get like a CoffeeZilla
Yeah.
getting on them for something that they might not even be correct or true, but those pitchforks are coming for them either way. And so with some of the licenses and stuff that I have, I don't really want to get into like giving financial advice on YouTube because, like I said, it's really easy to say this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but when you actually are, it's like how much can you really get away with, and what do you even want to say? So I don't ever think I'd be that big. I don't think I have enough interesting things going on for it to get there. But like I said, it's more just like getting that network because there's really cool people that, like I said, could crush on YouTube, and getting to know them, and like I said, giving and getting that valuable information has really helped me scale. So I recommend it. There's a lot of people probably listening to this who have a burner account, never really put themselves out there, and just doing even a little bit has paid dividends.
Well, do you have any questions for us? I know you were asking John some about it, but I'm sure you have some stuff. Do you watch the pod?
Yeah, occasionally it'll come up on my homepage, and like,
That's cool.
I've seen a lot of like, there was one dude, Steven, I think, he seems to be crushing it. There's people that are leaving the space and they know their margins and they know their numbers. And it's like, yeah, if Amazon decides suddenly that you need to use them for FBA and, you know, your margin disappears overnight, people might not understand that. They see that sales dashboard and it's like, yeah, I have made $1 million on YouTube and kept 36 grand from it, right? It's like, it's a give or take after all costs and taxes and everything that you don't know you got going on. Inventory getting lost. I mean, there's so many things that can really just make that disappear. And especially in the race to the bottom of drop shipping on Amazon, it was like you might sell something for 5 cents, and then get a return to your house. So, how's YouTube been for you guys? And I know that John's been doing it for a while, and I'm not sure if you have a personal channel, Drew, but I'm kind of curious how your experience has been with YouTube because you've been doing it as well.
Well, this is John's channel, so I'm just kind of on here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know. I've seen his older videos and stuff. Yeah.
We decided to launch it on this channel because it was just like, it's just easier. There's already an audience here. So we kind of decided to do that. For me, it was always just I was kind of all like books, then OA, and then I really started doing the influencer program. So this podcast was kind of like a little bridge in between that for like, mine was like a lot of like DIY, like how to find stuff to sell on Amazon. And I still do a little bit of that. But for this podcast, it's starting to grow, which is nice. Definitely from the beginning. We're trying to, maybe you have some ideas. We actually had, God, I can't think of his name, but basically he sells like $5 million worth of video games. and he was just like, "Yo, your thumbnails suck." He said it in a nicer way than that. And ever since we changed the thumbnails up, Drew's been like designing them. We've seen views go up, retention go up, and we're trying. And Drew's been making intros, so we're trying to like get that, and it's been super encouraging because it's working, for
Yeah.
sure. Or I mean, based on just like kind of numbers wise. So it's been like really cool, and then yeah, just hearing like feedback from people, I think that's what kind of we recently just dropped an episode. I don't know in this one, kind of like going after someone who went after us, and it's gotten a lot of good feedback and a lot of kind of like, hey, we listened to the podcast. Like you don't always see that, so then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, people listen to this. Like people care about this. There was recently a conference, and a couple of people texted me like, hey, they were talking about your podcast, like wondering where you were, kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, like people are listening to this. So I think that's kind of the hardest part about it. It's like, yeah, you see the view count, but like, do people care about this? Do they listen to it? So I think that's probably the hardest part about kind of doing this. It's like, hey, is this working? And like, we've been doing this almost a year and a half now, right? Like, we lose money on this. So like, I guess that's like kind of like the mindset of it. Just like keep going, keep putting the content out there. We're trying to broaden it out a little bit, like get guests like you who are like, hey, Amazon's a bloodbath right now. Like maybe you should like hit up Jake on Twitter and like look into this Faceless YouTube channel stuff. We had someone doing Etsy yesterday. So we're really trying to broaden it out, and I think we're starting to see the results that like that is the right move. But TBD, we're always
Yeah.
experimenting.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it, and just get incrementally better, with intros and hooks, and see like on that YouTube analytics page, like see where those dips occur and why they happened, and like how to keep that engagement going. But yeah, like YouTube is great, but it's also can't disappear overnight, right? It's like I wouldn't want people to go out there. Oh wow, Jake bought a channel for this. I'm gonna go on Flippa and buy this channel right now for X amount of dollars, because you'll see really good channels overnight get demonetized. You'll see spam and deception happen, and so really follow the rules. Don't do anything crazy, and you will. And if you're smart and you know how to manage a team and notice patterns and be creative, you can have a lot of success with it. But like I said, I can't dictate financial choices now based on my last 5 months, because it could all disappear overnight. So it's just keeping that in mind. And if it did disappear overnight, I feel like I could rebuild it. But it's just because of the skills it's not because I just have the best channel and suddenly now you really need to get those skills and kind of grow that operational like superiority over other channels, other competitors, because it's not a race to the bottom, because the people at the bottom are just gone. Now it's like you have to incrementally have that race to the top, because somebody else is going to enter your niche, have better scripts, have better thumbnails, and suddenly you go on Reddit. It's like something's wrong with YouTube because my views have dropped by 80%. And it's like, well, no, something's wrong with your channel because somebody else came out and is doing it better. And that's why your views have dropped. It's because you've done the same thing for 5 years. So what you're saying is like you're starting to see this incremental, like it's starting to work. And it's because there's a lot of podcasts out there, but you guys have focused on the Amazon space. And obviously Amazon has dropped a little bit. We're all kind of seeing people leave it. But the side hustle, the like, I want to make money, outside of my W-2 is doing nothing but getting, growing and growing. So it's the right way to do it.
Yeah, do you have any recommendations? Because yeah, like he said, we talked to a guy, Phoenix Resale, and he has like over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and he just told us, he was like, "Do you have any?" Or he asked if he could give us some YouTube advice. He was like, "Your thumbnails are bad. Do this. Like you can even copy this thumbnail. Literally 3x the views immediately." Like I'm thinking back, like we would have got so many more views just changing those thumbnails. And that I make those in no time. And I'm not even a good thumbnail designer. Like we'll probably hire someone at some point. But and then the intros. But is there any other advice you can give on like how you would kind of run the podcast situation?
Yeah, I mean, on the analytics side, you go to the audience and you see like other channels that they're watching, other videos that they've seen, and you can really see like, okay, well, why? Why did this other video get 100,000 views? Is it content? Is it thumbnail? Is it, you don't really have scripts because it's a podcast, but is it guest related? Because obviously if it's some huge celebrity, like, you know, that's outside of the podcast hands, that's the guest's hands. So things like that to kind of figure it out. But, you know, I think you guys are growing like a core audience. And all you need is like one video where, you know, it pops off to where you see that returning viewers. It's like, oh, very high from, you know, Etsy. Okay, well, let's have more Etsy people on, because obviously more and more people are coming back from that. So YouTube is, the analytics side could obviously be better. We'd love to know everything, but what they give us still helps us make decisions to grow, you know, the channel in a way where they want you to do well because they make money off of you, and then obviously you make money too. So it's a give and take.
We definitely see that a lot too, like where we're just throwing a lot of stuff at the wall at this point and we've had, like, we know for our channel, wholesale does not work. Like, we've had $10 million, $20 million, $60 million wholesaler views, not good. Like, they do not want to hear about that. They don't care about it. And we're like, wow, these are some of the biggest people in this space, but it just doesn't work.
To me, I feel like people want to watch videos on something that they think they can do, and that is such an unreachable, like, to close your eyes and imagine 60 million wholesale. It's like, oh, it's like basically watching Jeff Bezos talk on like how he created Amazon, and it's like, I can't do that. Where if you have like, hey, I created an Etsy store and I'm making $4,000 a month, it's like, that would pay my mortgage, like that would take care of all my bills. And now, okay, so to me it's like finding a way for it to relate to your audience, in a way where, you know, like the side hustle, it's always starts small and gets bigger. And if you talk about how big it is, then it's like, oh, I can't do that. You know, it's like, oh, you know, that sounds really cool, but it's like watching a celebrity talk on television, right? So to me, like, I think if you've obviously like phrase things in a way for the side hustle to start small, get big, it's like, oh, I want to learn how to do that, you know, type of thing.
In my opinion,
Just my 2 cents.
Wholesale is just boring. Like I've noticed, like this is almost maybe this is just intuitively, maybe because I've watched YouTube since I was 12 years old. But as soon as we get off a podcast, I can like say, I'll tell John that one's gonna kill or that sucked, and I just know, like I've been pretty spot on with it. I'm like, okay, this was boring. Like this whole conversation was boring, or like this was like great. We had a guy on that was like, that's gonna be like one of our best pods, and it got 4,000 views. It was our best pod, but you can just tell in the flow, and like some people can talk like without you having to like drag it out of them. I think that thing's huge, and it's not even about how popular the guest is, because we've had, like he said, really popular wholesalers on, but I think the shit's boring. It's like I'm having trouble focused. I know that other people would have the trouble focusing on it, but like this stuff, yeah, I'm locked in. I'm going to remember this conversation. I just think it'll do well, just because it's like some people I haven't heard about. You can talk well. That stuff matters like a lot. I think if we can get more guests like that, then we'll just continue to do better. But it's hard when you have like a rough guest. You're like, oh, I know that's not going to perform that well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's kind of what I've taken away from it, I think, overall.
Yeah.
Oh, anything else we got here? John, you got anything? You got any more questions for us? Still got a few minutes.
No. Yeah. The one thing that I think is cool, and between like the KDP side and the YouTube side, is like sellability, right? KDP, way easier to sell. YouTube, way easier to sell up until a certain point. And then it's way harder to sell. So it's just like, as I'm super deep into both, like seeing the difference there, where you could be making, you know, a couple $100,000 a month on a YouTube channel, and then try to sell it. And it's like, maybe there's 5 buyers in the whole world that either have the liquidity, have the knowledge, like are willing to take that risk. Where on KDP, it's like, hey, I've been a bestseller for 15 of the last 18 months. Okay, well, yeah, that's probably going to continue to happen, because on, you know, the KDP side is like real estate, where you're buying real estate on Amazon, and as long as you pay, as long as the quality is good, people aren't returning it, And as long as you're paying for Amazon ads, you'll still be a bestseller. Where on YouTube, it's like you'll see channels that used to get hundreds of thousands of views, and you go to look at them recently and they're getting 20,000. It's like, okay, either they didn't grow with their audience, either their audience grew out of them, or they got a community strike and never recovered, or got a copyright strike and never recovered, like things like that, where you can see people that used to kill it and now they aren't. And so YouTube isn't as much like real estate as it is like it's like you're walking down like a circus, and there's certain acts you want to see, and you need to catch their attention right away or they're moving on to the next one. Where on KDP, it's like if I look up radio, right, like there's these like radio things that you can use if you're camping. You'll Google that and it's like, oh, I'm gonna obviously buy this one because it's front and center whenever you search for it. Where on YouTube, it's so different because you're competing against so much on the homepage, suggested videos, and if you did build that audience, which always will view you, great. But on the Faceless side, that doesn't exist as much. The moat is your content. The moat isn't you, right? If the moat is you, then it's really easy to win. If the moat is content, you constantly have to create, recreate, rebuild, like retinker, things like that. And so they're similar, and it's really cool doing both, but they're also very different in the sense of like how you can scale it, how you can sell it, and how you need to think about your product. Because you really need to have that whole package on a YouTube: the title, the thumbnail, how long it is, how many ads you put in the video. On KDP, it's like I basically need to like, it's already being searched for. I'm just going to put something out there. And then 5 months later, it's like, oh, I made 30 grand from this one book. On YouTube, it's like, it's not immediate, but it's a lot easier to like pivot and make choices. Where on KDP, it's like, I'm going to put something out there. I'm going to wait 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, see what happens. And on YouTube, it's like snap your fingers. Did it work? Nope. Okay. Now you got to rework it. You might do an ABC test on a thumbnail, and this one video worked. Okay, well now I need to immediately come up with others, because other niches, other channels in that niche are going to see that your one video did well, and they're just going to repackage your own video. So why don't I repackage my own video, right? Why don't I put end screens of my own channels on my own channel? So now I own 4 channels in the niche, and I repackage my own videos because somebody else is going to do it. It might as well be me, right? It's like those types of ways to like rethink about things. And suddenly now you had like one movie recap channel, and now you got 6, and you're competing against yourself because somebody else is going to compete with you. So I might as well be my own competitor. It's like things like that where you think about things in a new way, and then suddenly now you have 14 channels, right? It's not like every single channel is juggling 14 balls at once. It's like some of these balls are multiple balls, things like that.
John, anything else?
I don't. Where can
Sweet.
people follow you or go learn more?
Jake Rader CPA is like my tag. That's my tag on, I think, YouTube. I have no videos. It's my tag on X. I post more there, reply more there. And then Instagram, I haven't posted in forever, but it's the same handle.
Cool deal. Thanks for being here, guys. Like, subscribe, go follow Jake, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace.
Sweet.
If you enjoyed this episode and know someone else that would enjoy this episode, if you could send them this episode, literally just copy and paste a link, send them on Instagram DM. Everyone loves to network. This is a great way to do it, a very easy way. It helps grow the podcast and get better guests. So the more the podcast gets shared, the more views we get, the better guests we could get for you. We would really, really appreciate it. And tag us on social media and we will share it as well.